Last November, inside a conference room on Parliament Hill, well-known Canadian broadcaster and journalist Steve Paikin sat among a crowd that gathered for something called the Parliamentary Forum on Peace and Security. Now, despite its name, the room was mostly attended by non-parliamentarians and had no official ties to any committee in the legislature. Steve Paikin was the moderator and sat between two men who he would introduce as powerful voices in promoting peace in Canada and the world. On Paikin's right sat Irwin Cotler, a well-known retired politician who was Minister of Justice and Attorney General in the early 2000s under the Liberals. He was also Canada's first special envoy on preserving Holocaust remembrance and combating anti-Semitism. But on Paikin's left was the man he introduced first, a man who stuck out in the room by wearing a white turban and long black robe.
We are now going to hear from one of the driving forces behind today's activities, the governing member of the Global Imams Council, chairman of the GIC's Senior Imams Committee, and one of the leading global voices for peace and moderation, Imam Mohammad Tawhidi. Imam, the microphone is yours. Push your button and away you go.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. Distinguished guests, honored colleagues, respected parliamentarians, esteemed diplomats, and leaders from across our national institutions, welcome.
Now, before we go any further, here's something you should understand about Mohammad Tawhidi. He isn't from Canada. He's Australian, but there he was anyway, lecturing Canadians and Canadian lawmakers about what he saw as the obvious threat facing our country.
Let me be unequivocal. There is no threat greater to national security today than the Muslim Brotherhood, the threat of the Muslim Brotherhood. No threat greater in its reach, no threat greater in its ideological influence, no threat greater in its ability to infiltrate, manipulate, and mobilize.
And that basically sums up the point of this entire forum, actually, pushing the idea that Canada, our rule of law, and the rights of Canadians are under attack by a mafia-like Islamist takeover. But there's one glaring problem. The so-called Imam of Peace also has a proven track record of lying about his credentials, his past, and more importantly, lying and exaggerating about the community he purports to understand and criticize, often on behalf of the anti-Muslim right wing. And after performing this act to some effect in Australia, the Imam of Peace has now taken his show on the road to Canada. And it's time to break down his agenda. This is NCCM Investigates. Today, we're dissecting the very curious story of the self-described Imam of Peace, Mohammad Tawhidi. Mohammad Tawhidi's false credentials are well documented in Australia. A quick online search reveals several deep dive investigations by mainstream Australian journalism into the so-called Imam's mysterious past. They reveal just how extensive the Imam of Peace has lied about his extensive religious education. He was first thrust into the mainstream in 2017 when an Australian TV show called Today Tonight featured him as a concerned insider imam warning about radical Islam in Australia. His message might sound rather familiar.
And a stark warning of a plan to alter Australia forever, to establish a caliphate here, right under our noses.
The agenda is to create a country within your country. That's what it is. It's to create another country or another government within the Australian government. That's what I believe is their agenda, these extreme Muslims.
It's the same old shtick. False warnings of Muslims trying to construct a caliphate inside Australia back in 2017, and today it's the Muslim Brotherhood trying to gradually take over Canada. Australian journalists soon caught on to the grift years ago.
The chance of that happening? Around about zero. But that didn't stop Tawhidi telling Andrew Bolt how unpleasant the caliphate's punishments would be, especially for Australian Muslims who cheated on their taxes.
They put his head in a pot, they cook it, they eat it, then they rape his wife the same night.
So, was that a cue for the media to stop taking him seriously? Not at all. Despite his outlandish claims, Tawhidi has been built up by the media as a good Muslim, the acceptable face of Islam, making headlines for suggesting that halal certification threatens the Australian way of life, or for supporting Pauline Hanson's call for a ban on Muslim immigration, or for backing Ayaan Hirsi Ali's call to forcibly shut down all Muslim schools and colleges in Australia.
Others also questioned Tawhidi's credentials as a Shia Muslim theologian, prompting the Imam to respond.
For the benefit of those that media watch, your credentials, tell me, how do you call yourself an Imam or you call yourself a Sheikh? That comes from where?
I traveled to Iran, to the holy city of Qom in 2007, and I engaged in my Islamic studies from there. I received my bachelor's degree and master's degree in Islamic theology from the Al-Mustafa University.
Upon hearing that claim, investigators actually reached out to Al-Mustafa University's Iranian headquarters to confirm Tawhidi's credentials. The university then sent over a clear answer in a 2-page official letter. Here's what it says. Tawhidi has no educational degree or any given score in his profile, notwithstanding the fact that he was present for more than 1 year in the seminary. No educational progress had been achieved. In spite of given warnings and notifications, the above-named person did not take heed of them each time and had not satisfactory academic record in his courses, and it was thus that he was placed on probation and dropping out in 2012. The letter then said that Al-Mustafa doesn't recommend Tawhidi as a lecturer in any way, and that the so-called Imam of Peace has no competency to do religious activities or to preach sermons. In other words, Tawhidi lied about having a bachelor's degree, let alone a master's degree, from Al-Mustafa International University. Any person falsifying his resume to such a degree should be held accountable, not championed by politicians as a trustworthy religious leader. This exact point was soon made by a broad segment of Australia's Muslim leadership.
Meanwhile, Australia's Imams Council has told One Path Network that Tawhidi is a fake sheikh and not a genuine imam.
The Imams Council of Southern Australia also said the same thing. One by one, mainstream Muslim leaders called Tawhidi out for lying about his credentials, both when it comes to theology and his standing in the community. But it wasn't just about a falsified resume. Over the years, Tawhidi's carefully crafted image as a measured Muslim cleric has been sullied by outbursts that he usually reserves for the Sunni Muslim communities in the West and beyond.
Indeed, he told Ben Fordham on 2GB last month that Sunni leaders in Australia,
They just want to live like how Muslims lived in the caves 1,400 years ago.
Tawhidi has also attacked Sunnis on Facebook, calling their sacred texts monkey teachings and describing Sunnis as followers of an alcoholic rapist caliph.
This sort of trolling drew further condemnations from the broader Australian Muslim leadership, like from Ahmed Zreika, president of the Islamic Society of Southern Australia, who said, "Up to my knowledge, I haven't seen any attack between Sunni and Shia until he came to Adelaide. When he comes to Adelaide, I see on the social networks all the time, Sunni people and Shia people are fighting on social media for him." But the scope of Tawhidi's messaging has long grown to encompass the wider Muslim community in general. This gave Tawhidi a burst of fame among the global anti-Muslim far right, mostly for amplifying anti-immigrant talking points like this.
But these Islamist extremists, they don't want to work, they want free welfare. They want to marry French women, blonde hair, blue eyes. When you import that, or you allow it in, or you amplify it, or you glorify it in any way, you make your bed, sleep in it.
Or for getting on the YouTube show of notable anti-Muslim activist Tommy Robinson, a convicted criminal who praised Tawhidi as one of the world's leading imams and a highly regarded scholar of the Quran and Islamic history. Their favorite topic? Population jihad.
When you look at the statistics,
and how much they are growing and the children they are having. Most Muslim families, in fact, most Middle Eastern families, mostly the Muslim of them, amongst them, drive vans and big cars. Why? Because
6, 7 kids.
Exactly.
Is that a fluke? Or is that population jihad?
Look, my mother has 11 siblings. She's number 12, and one of them died from one mother and one father. When you're dealing with such a mentality that says, hey, lots of children is a beautiful thing in life.
Is that the reason? That's the point I'm making. Is that the reason, or is it literally population rise in order to conquer areas?
I do believe that there are actually political movements behind that.
Okay.
To actually fund families that have lots of children.
It's not hard to see then why Tawhidi continues to be the far right's favorite so-called Muslim cleric.
Islamophobia as a concept or even as a theory does not exist. So this whole notion of Islamophobia is a political game. It's a political game, and it only works in societies where people are weak-minded, morally and intellectually bankrupt.
This is the man whose political supporters, including prominent Canadians and lawmakers, have sponsored within Canada's halls of power. Unfortunately, this process started long before Tawhidi's appearance last November on Parliament Hill. Tawhidi started connecting with Canadian politicians since at least 2018. In those days, he came to Canada for meetings mostly with Conservative Party members of Parliament. These include Michelle Rempel, David Sweet, Garnett Genis, and former Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole. In June 2018, the Conservative Senator David Kachuk even had the Senate chamber formally recognize Tawhidi's visit. When asked by the National Observer about Tawhidi's dishonest past, far-right affiliations, and Islamophobic rhetoric, Kachuk said he had no idea about any of it and denied having any relationship with Tawhidi. The same question should be put to Senator Leo Housakos, who hosted the November 20th Forum of Security and Peace on Parliament Hill, and also to Erwin Kotler, who had glowing praise for Tawhidi.
I have to say, I want to commend Imam Tawhidi. Those were one of the most powerful set of remarks that I've ever heard. And I have to say that what you said today must be required reading, not just in this room, but it must be heard and acted upon by all Canadians.
The action Kotler is referring to, in a nutshell, is to ban the Muslim Brotherhood, a group that Tawhidi declares gave birth to Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. It's a bold historical claim, but does Tawhidi possess the credentials to make such assertions? He provided no evidence in his long-winded remarks that day. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Muslim Brotherhood renounced any usage of violence in the 1970s. Yet politicians and public figures like Kotler, Rachel Thomas, MP Shuvaloy Majumdar, and Senator Leo Housakos sat around and nodded their heads as Tawhidi made one unsubstantiated assertion after another at last November's forum. Tawhidi then ended his speech with a specific and concrete request to the Canadian government.
And so I say this with clarity and without hesitation. It is time that Canada officially and finally conducts a transparent, expert-led study into the Muslim Brotherhood in Canada. Admit their presence, first of all, and then examine their influence, their funding, their intimidation tactics, and their abuse of religion and hijacking of social causes, and importation of extremist narratives from abroad onto Canadian soil, so we can protect not only Canadian Muslims, but Canadian democracy itself.
And who should carry out the study? Which experts? He has an answer for that too. Tawhidi is listed as an advisor at the security research firm called Trends Research and Advisory. The organization is based in the United Arab Emirates, but Tawhidi insists that it has roots in Canada as well. And as it turns out, The whole point forum is to lobby for Trends, a relatively unknown Emirati group, to conduct a Canadian government study on the Muslim Brotherhood in Canada,
so that it may serve as evidence, as expert submissions, and as authoritative research the moment this long-awaited study is undertaken by those courageous enough to say that Canada deserves it.
The United Arab Emirates is run by an authoritarian government that banned the Muslim Brotherhood in 2014 for its own political reasons. Tawhidi wants Canada to follow suit, like Trump promised to do just a few days after Tawhidi spoke on Parliament Hill last fall. Trends, the self-proclaimed expert research firm, tried to kick off a Muslim Brotherhood ban in Canada, and only lists itself as a virtual office in its Canadian headquarters. Yet they want to extend their reach into Canadian society and into our affairs. During the gathering, leaders and staff at Trends sat around the room nodding and agreeing with Tawhidi, who effectively acted as their spokesperson that day. It's reasonable then to ask how this little-known firm is connected to the UAE regime itself, and why it's so intent on carrying on its business abroad in Canada, of all places. And why are they so eager to partner with Tawhidi? Should Canadian leaders mindlessly follow suit? Everyone, including Muslims, has the right to affiliate with groups and ideas that don't pose a violent threat to our country. Any debate around which group to ban or to list should be done with people of honesty and good faith. It's time to smarten up.